Your journey is unlike anyone else's. No two people start from the same place, follow the same path, or reach the same destination. We all have different backgrounds, strengths, weaknesses, and life circumstances that shape the course we take. But too often we fall into the trap of comparison, looking at where someone else is and wondering why we're not there yet. It's easy to get caught up in the illusion that others have it all figured out while we're still trying to find our way. The truth is, no one has it all figured out. Everyone is walking their own path at their own pace, with their own struggles hidden behind the surface. What if I told you that comparison is one of the biggest distractions from your own potential? Every time you look at someone else's achievements and question your own progress, you shift your focus away from the one thing that actually matters: yourself. Your journey isn't meant to look like theirs. It's not supposed to. You are on your own timeline. Some people hit their peak early, while others rise later in life. Some take a straight path forward, while others take detours, fall, and get back up stronger than before. None of it makes one journey more valuable than another. The only thing that matters is whether you are moving forward, whether you are growing, whether you are becoming a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. But the problem is, we live in a world that constantly pushes us to compare. Social media has made it effortless to measure ourselves against carefully curated highlights of other people's lives. We see their successes, their celebrations, their seemingly perfect moments, and we start to wonder if we're doing enough. We start to doubt our progress, our timing, and even our worth. But what you see online is never the full picture. It's just a snapshot, a polished version of reality. You don't see the failures, the doubts, the nights they question themselves just like you do. And yet, we let these illusions make us feel like we're falling behind. You're not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Life is not a race, and it's not a competition. The only person you should ever measure yourself against is the person you were yesterday. If you are learning, if you are growing, if you are making progress, no matter how small, then you are on the right path. There is no need to rush to keep up with someone else's story. What's meant for you will come in its time, but only if you stay focused on your own path instead of watching someone else's. Think about this. How much energy do we waste worrying about others? Worrying about where they are, what they have, what they're doing? Imagine if all of that energy was redirected toward yourself. Imagine if you took every moment of doubt and turned it into action. Instead of asking, why am I not where they are? Ask, what can I do today to move forward in my own way? That's the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck. Successful people don't spend their time comparing. They spend their time building, improving, and focusing on what they can control themselves. The moment you stop looking at someone else's journey and start pouring that energy into your own, everything changes. Your progress accelerates, your mindset shifts, and you start to realize that your potential was never limited. Your focus was just misplaced. The only limits that exist are the ones you create by looking at others instead of believing in yourself. You are capable of more than you realize, but you'll never see it if you're too busy looking at someone else's life. So stop looking sideways. Stop measuring yourself against someone else's timeline. You are not them, and they are not you. Focus on your path, your growth, and your progress. That's where your power is. Every single day we wake up with a limited amount of energy, mental, emotional, and physical. Where that energy goes determines the direction of our lives. But too often, instead of using it to build ourselves, we waste it worrying about what others are doing. We spend time overanalyzing their success, their progress, their choices, and in the process we drain ourselves of the power we could be using to create something meaningful for ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in watching others. It's easy to let comparison take over, to feel frustrated when someone else seems to be achieving what we want. But ask yourself, how does that help you? How does spending time fixating on someone else's success bring you any closer to your own? It doesn't. In fact, it does the opposite. Every minute spent envying another person is a minute stolen from your own growth. Every thought spent wondering why they're ahead is a thought that could have been used to plan your next move. The truth is, when you focus too much on others, you're giving away your power. You're letting their journey dictate your emotions. You're allowing their wins to make you feel like you're losing. But you are not losing, you are simply looking in the wrong direction. The only time you truly fall behind is when you stop focusing on yourself and start obsessing over things that are out of your control. And let's be clear, other people's success, their timing, their achievements are completely out of your control. No amount of worrying will change that. What you can control is what you do with your own time, your own efforts, your own dedication. The moment you take your focus off others and turn it inward, your entire world shifts. Suddenly, you're not wasting energy on resentment or frustration. You're using it to push yourself forward. You're not sitting around hoping for opportunities to come your way. You're creating them. That's the difference between those who rise and those who stay stagnant. Think about it. The most successful people don't spend their time checking to see how they measure up against others. They are too busy working on themselves. They are too focused on learning, improving, evolving. They understand that their biggest competition isn't someone else, it's who they were yesterday. And because of that, they move forward while everyone else stays stuck in the cycle of comparison and self-doubt. Imagine what would happen if you made that shift. If instead of looking at others, you looked at yourself and asked, what can I do today to be better than I was yesterday? If you redirected every ounce of energy wasted on jealousy, on self-pity, on doubt, and channeled it into progress, you would be unstoppable. You would realize that your success has nothing to do with anyone else. It has everything to do with how much effort you're willing to put into yourself. And yet, so many people hold themselves back because they're too focused on what others are doing. They see someone else succeed and feel defeated instead of inspired. They let another person's achievements make them feel like they're not enough. But here's the truth, you are enough. You always have been. The only thing standing between you and where you want to be is where you're placing your focus. If it's on others, you'll always feel behind. If it's on yourself, you'll always be moving forward. The energy you have is valuable. It is the fuel that will take you where you want to go. But if you waste it on distractions, on comparison, on things that don't serve you, you will never have enough left to build the life you want. Protect your energy, guard it fiercely, use it wisely, and most importantly, use it on yourself. We live in a time where the world is constantly on display. At any moment, you can open your phone and see glimpses of other people's lives, their successes, their travels, their celebrations. You see perfectly curated images, carefully edited moments, and highlight reels that make it seem like everyone else has life figured out while you're still trying to find your way. And without even realizing it, you start comparing. You start questioning yourself. You start feeling like you're behind. But here's the truth. What you see online is not reality. It's a performance, a filtered version of life designed to look effortless and perfect. No one posts their struggles. No one shares their moments of doubt, their failures, their insecurities. You don't see the sleepless nights, the hard work, the moments of uncertainty that exist behind every success. And yet, we take what we see at face value. We believe that someone else's life is as flawless as it appears on a screen, and we use it as a measuring stick for our own. Think about how much time we waste scrolling, comparing, feeling inadequate over illusions. How often do we see someone else's achievement and immediately feel like we're not doing enough? Like we should be further ahead, more successful, more accomplished. And yet, that entire feeling is based on something that isn't even real. Because the reality is, no one is perfect. No one has it all figured out. But social media doesn't show the full picture. It only shows the parts that people want you to see. The problem is, when you buy into that illusion, you start doubting yourself. You start believing that your life isn't as exciting, that your progress isn't fast enough, that your dreams are somehow out of reach because someone else seems to be doing it better. But you have to remind yourself, what you see is not the whole truth. You are comparing your real life with all its ups and downs to someone else's highlight reel. That's never going to be a fair comparison. And beyond that, what if I told you that none of it actually matters, that someone else's success doesn't take away from your own, that just because someone else is winning doesn't mean you're losing? Life is not a competition. There is no one single path to success. There is no fixed timeline that says you have to achieve certain things by a certain age. The only thing that truly matters is that you are moving forward in your own way, at your own pace. But that becomes impossible if you're constantly looking sideways. If you spend all your time trying to measure up to an illusion, you'll never focus on your own reality. You'll never put in the work required to build something real, because you'll be too distracted chasing a version of success that isn't even yours to begin with. The more time you spend consumed by what others are doing, the less time you have to create a life that is actually fulfilling for you. So stop chasing shadows. Stop believing in the illusion that social media creates. Stop letting a carefully edited version of someone else's life make you feel like yours isn't enough. Your path is yours alone. It doesn't need to look like anyone else's. It doesn't need to fit into some unrealistic standard created by a world that thrives on appearances. What matters is that you are becoming better, that you are growing, that you are focused on your journey instead of getting lost in someone else's. The moment you stop letting social media dictate how you feel about yourself, you take back your power. You stop feeling inadequate over things that don't even matter. You stop chasing perfection and start chasing real progress. And when that happens, when you finally shift your focus back to yourself, you'll realize that you were never behind. You were always exactly where you needed to be. There is a difference between chasing success and actually feeling fulfilled. So many people spend their lives running after the next big achievement, thinking that once they reach a certain milestone, they will finally feel satisfied. They tell themselves, once I have that job, that house, that recognition, then I'll be happy. But when they finally get there, they realize it isn't enough. The goalposts move, the feeling of accomplishment fades, and so they set their sights on the next thing, always chasing, never arriving. The reason for this is simple. True fulfillment doesn't come from external achievements. It doesn't come from what you have, how much money you make, or how many people admire you. It comes from within. It comes from knowing that you are constantly growing, improving, and becoming the best version of yourself. It comes from the quiet confidence of knowing that you are walking your own path, not someone else's. But too often, people ignore that. They focus on the wrong things. They look at what society tells them they should want, instead of asking themselves what truly matters to them. They chase recognition instead of purpose. They seek validation instead of self-respect. And in the process, they lose themselves. They wake up one day with all the things they thought they wanted, only to realize that they still feel empty. You see it all the time. People who appear successful on the outside, but are miserable on the inside. They have the job, the house, the status, but they're burnt out, disconnected, unfulfilled. Why? Because they spend so much time focusing on external success that they never stopped to build something deeper within themselves. They never took the time to ask, what actually makes me happy? Instead, they followed the script society laid out for them, only to realize too late that it wasn't their script to begin with. That's why self-growth is the foundation of real fulfillment. Because when you invest in yourself, when you focus on your own journey, your own progress, your own development, you build something that no one can take away from you. Money can come and go, status can fade, but the person you become, the skills you develop, the wisdom you gain, those things stay with you. Those things create a kind of success that lasts. And when you stop chasing validation and start focusing on growth, everything changes. You no longer need other people's approval to feel worthy. You no longer compare yourself to others because you understand that your journey is your own. You no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone because you know deep down that you are enough as you are. And that kind of confidence, that kind of peace, is something that no amount of external success can give you. It only comes from within. But that takes work. It takes discipline. It takes choosing yourself every single day, even when it's not easy. It takes saying no to distractions, to comparisons, to the endless noise of the world telling you who you should be, and instead saying yes to your own path, your own goals, your own definition of success. It takes understanding that real growth isn't about looking successful. It's about becoming someone you're proud of when no one else is watching. So ask yourself, what are you really chasing? Are you chasing approval? or are you chasing personal growth? Are you focused on impressing others, or are you focused on becoming better than you were yesterday? Because at the end of the day, success without fulfillment is just an illusion. And the only way to create something real, something lasting, something that actually makes you feel alive is to invest in yourself. Nothing else matters. Nothing else will ever be enough. Everything starts in the mind. Every decision, every belief, every step forward or backward, it all comes down to what's happening inside your head. The way you think determines the way you live. If your mindset is weak, if it's filled with doubt, comparison and negativity, then no matter how much potential you have, you'll always hold yourself back. But if your mindset is strong, if it is focused, disciplined and self-assured, then nothing and no one can stand in your way. The problem is too many people allow their minds to be controlled by outside forces. They let the opinions of others dictate how they see themselves. They allow failures to define them, mistakes to discourage them, and obstacles to convince them to quit. Instead of leading their own thoughts, they become prisoners of them. Instead of training their minds to work for them, they let their minds work against them. And the result? They never reach their full potential. Not because they aren't capable, but because they've convinced themselves they aren't. If you want to change your life, you have to change your mindset. You have to take control of your thoughts instead of letting them control you. You have to be aware of the way you talk to yourself, the way you react to challenges, the way you interpret setbacks. Do you see obstacles as proof that you aren't good enough, or do you see them as opportunities to learn and grow? Do you let failure make you feel small, or do you use it as fuel to come back stronger? That difference in perspective is what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. Most people fail before they even begin. Not because they aren't talented, not because they don't have what it takes, but because they tell themselves a story that keeps them small. They tell themselves they aren't ready. They convince themselves they don't have what it takes. They repeat the same doubts over and over in their minds until they start believing them. And once you believe something, you make it your reality. If you believe you aren't good enough, you will act like you aren't good enough. If you believe you are incapable of achieving something, you will never even try. But the same is true in the other direction. If you believe in your ability to grow, to improve, to succeed, then you will take action, and through that action you will make it real. That's why mastering your mindset is the most important thing you will ever do. Because when your mind is strong, everything else follows. When you refuse to entertain negative self-talk, when you replace doubt with discipline, when you stop looking for excuses and start looking for solutions, you become unstoppable. You start to realize that your potential was never the problem, your thinking was. But it isn't easy, it takes work, it takes rewiring, years of self-doubt and replacing it with self-belief. It takes shutting out distractions, blocking out negativity and choosing to focus on growth even when it feels uncomfortable. It takes the discipline to wake up every day and remind yourself of who you are and what you're capable of, no matter what the world tries to tell you. And once you master that, everything changes. You stop relying on outside validation because you already know your worth. You stop fearing failure because you understand that failure is part of the process. You stop comparing yourself to others because you are too focused on becoming the best version of yourself. That is the power of mindset. That is the power of choosing to take control of your thoughts instead of letting them control you. Because in the end, nothing will determine your success more than the way you think. Your mindset will either be your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. The choice is yours. At the end of the day, the only person you truly have to answer to is yourself. No matter how much approval you seek, no matter how many people praise or criticize you, it all comes down to whether or not you are living in alignment with who you truly are. And yet, too many people spend their lives trying to please everyone but themselves. They shape their choices based on what others expect of them. They silence their own desires to fit into a mold. They chase dreams that were never theirs to begin with, all because they are afraid of what will happen if they choose themselves. But what kind of life is that? A life where you are constantly bending, constantly adjusting, constantly sacrificing your own happiness just to fit into someone else's version of success? That isn't living. That performing. And the problem with living for others is that no matter how much you give, no matter how much you try to be what they want, it will never be enough. Because the truth is, you will never make everyone happy. No matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. Someone will always criticize, always judge, always question your choices. And if you spend your life trying to avoid that, you will never truly be free. But the moment you let go of the need for approval, everything changes. The moment you realize that your life belongs to you and no one else, you become unstoppable. You start making decisions based on what feels right for you, not based on what will make others comfortable. You stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who are never going to understand you anyway. You stop holding yourself back out of fear of what others will think, because you finally understand that their opinions have nothing to do with your truth. And it won't be easy. People will question you. Some might distance themselves when you stop being the version of you that they were comfortable with. But that's okay, because the right people, the people who truly matter, will support you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. And the ones who can't, they were never meant to stay. You do not owe anyone an explanation for living your life the way that makes sense to you. Too many people get to the end of their lives and realize they were living for everyone but themselves. They realize they spent years worrying about opinions that never really mattered. They regret the dreams they never pursued, the chances they never took, the moments they let pass because they were too afraid of what people would say. Don't let that be you. Don't wait until it's too late to start living for yourself. Because the truth is, no one else can live this life for you. No one else will feel what you feel, dream what you dream, or carry the weight of your regrets. So why should anyone else's opinion hold more weight than your own? The only approval you truly need is your own. The only validation that matters is the one you give yourself. And the moment you start living for you, on your own terms, without apology or hesitation, that is the moment you finally become free.